It's 8:15 Eastern time, the only time zone that isn't watching Love Island, and that means it's time for C2C Live. That's Matt Bruening. I'm Austin Nace. On a throwback version of tonight's show, we're going to talk some starting QB battles that are finally starting to settle down and our flag plants for 2025. I know you guys were all waiting for them, so we have them tonight. All that and more right after the stinger. That felt right. That felt good. I think we have to go back to that intro.
I'd agree. We need to get back to doing bits and everything too. And we need to get back to the good old days of this show.
Yeah, exactly. I think, there's never a better time than right now, right as the season's about to start. So I think let's get more into that. Let's see. Do you think we can get Chris on the show again? It's only like 2:00 in Paris right now, a.m. I don't see the issue.
I think we could get him to commit to like one a month, right? Just like one day, you got to wake up a little early. I mean, I wake up at 2:30 a.m. practically every day. If I can do it, he can.
I thought it was like 4:30. This gets earlier. It's like the walk uphill both ways thing. It gets earlier and earlier every time.
I start at 3. Well, it's probably 4 for you because of the Eastern time. No, I start at 3 to 3:30. It really depends on how many times I decide to snooze my alarm when I'm really tired. No, it's usually 2. Back in the day of old Debbie debate when we would stay up until
the after shows
like
and stuff.
Midnight, your guys' time. Yes. Then it was like, I'm not waking up till 4. I'll just deal with it. But yeah, no, I usually get up between 2:30 and 3 every morning.
I don't know the last time. That's a lie. I can't remember the last time that I saw somewhere between 2:30 and 3:00 in the morning. It actually wasn't that recently? Long ago. But
I was about to say one of these weddings that you've been at recently.
No, actually. So we went to long story short, I guess. I mean, this is what Debbie Debate used to be. So we can get, I try not to do like too many personal life things. So my family went to the beach this summer. We live in Pittsburgh. We had to go to the Outer Banks, which is like a 10-hour drive. If anybody's familiar with that trip, with my side of the family, my wife had to work, so she couldn't go with us. So I drove our 18-month-old and myself the entire way down. And then my wife, when there was a lot of car sickness and stuff, we don't need to get into that part of the story. My wife flew down for part of the week because it was my daughter's first time at the ocean. She wanted to be there and, all that kind of stuff. And then she had to fly back to get back to work. But the only flight that she could catch was at like 5 a.m. Oh. So I had to get up with her, drive her to the airport, like an hour and a half, 2 hours from where we were staying, and then 2 hours back. So that was the last time that I saw 2:30. So it wasn't even something for me.
It's funny. I get this thrown in my face a lot recently by my girlfriend. She watches the shows and she knows that I constantly talk about how I never drink. I don't ever really drink. I was at a wedding recently. There was a lot of drinking. That was the most recent time I saw 2 a.m. not work-wise. And I was pissed. I'm not going to lie to you. I was pissed the whole time. We went to this place after the wedding to Boomer Jack's, which is just like a sports bar. All these younger folk, and I'm going to say younger folk because most of them are like 10 years younger than me. I'm the old man of this group. All thought it was a club when I clearly stated this is a sports bar that you guys are choosing to go to. We got there at 1. I just wanted to sleep. I really just wanted to be asleep the whole time. I just got some chips and queso and water.
I subscribe to the rules of kidnapping. Anytime I go out to like a wedding or something like that, do not let them take you to a secondary location. Never let them take you to a secondary location because then like it doesn't get better than the first location.
It really doesn't, but I didn't have a choice. All right. I was not my friends and I was just trying to make someone that I love dearly very happy. So I was like, I would love to go while also being up all day and driving and all kinds of other things. So yeah, it was a great time. That was the last time I saw 2 a.m. Not because of work.
Old man Bruening.
You're not joking. I got soccer season starting soon. I'm terrified. I'm out of shape.
You're playing?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can't do like 10 minutes of stuff at the beginning of this, but your legs practically fell off in the spring.
I know. So I went back to the doctor recently, and he's like, look, you haven't lost any more cartilage, and it looks like the PCL is healed. So if you're not feeling any pain, you're technically good to go. I was like, Doc, that's what I needed to hear.
You're not feeling any pain because you haven't been playing.
Well, well, that's true. Yeah, I did bring that up. He's like, how much? I was like, I haven't done anything. It's off season. Don't you know? All the pro athletes in the off season, they get fat. It's
S&C, strength and conditioning time. You've just been strengthening and conditioning.
Speaking of soccer, I wanted to ask you this. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League this year? Think it's going to be Liverpool with all their signings?
It's gonna be Chelsea.
I know everybody's just yelling at us right now. They don't care about the other football.
It's gonna be Chelsea.
I'm gonna take Arsenal. I think they're gonna get it done this year.
Interesting. I think Arsenal of the top 4 improved the least from last year. I actually think that they're at risk of not finishing top 4. But
I mean, I know who's actually gonna. Oh, it's gonna be Manchester United. I'll be there this year. Manchester United's gonna win it. I cannot wait. Red Devils, glory, glory, Man United.
Well, I had a perfect segue, and then you had to throw that thing in there after you were talking about being injured. We're going to lead off tonight's show with some starting quarterback announcements / just what's going on with starting quarterbacks across the country. We have a handful of them here to discuss. And it's not first on the list, Matt, but I thought it was a natural segue in, and then, you pulled the rug out from under me.
I was about to go back to it as soon as you said that. Like, by the way, my knee is still creaking a little bit. I might actually be injured.
You know who else's knee is creaking? DJ Lagway's knee is creaking. That's where we were going to go. Lagway, it sounds like he's a little banged up again. Yeah. I don't know exactly what the issue is. I don't know exactly what the issue with him is like 80% of the time. Last year he had during the season the hamstring injury that they kind of had him play through, and then it was the shoulder or whatever in the offseason. And now it sounds like it's like foot, ankle, lower leg of some sort. For a guy that I'm sure that they're not letting people hit their starting quarterback in the offseason. I don't, unless he was, they did a new Jackass movie that hasn't released yet and he was in it or something. I just don't understand how we've gotten to August 13th, 2025, and he's this beat up already. Is this concerning for him overall?
I mean, I think it has to be somewhat. I don't remember, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember ever hearing about him dealing with a ton of injuries in high school.
No.
So, I mean, it's not something that we expected with him coming in. He got injured very early on. I think it was that first game. Now, we got to give him props, right? Even though I thought he got injured.
Was it the first game?
I think it was the first game he played. I don't remember if it was the first game he started or he went in, but I mean, he played through it, right? He played through it. I think it was an ankle at that point in time because a lot of us were worried, well, hey, the rushing is going to be kind of a big thing for him because he struggles with that accuracy and everything. And while he wasn't the most efficient, he was better than I thought he was going to be. But now, I mean, as you mentioned, it's not just one thing. It's not like the ankle's lingering. We're talking about multiple different issues. There was reports of him having issues with the shoulder, other things I think that was back in spring. Now we're in the fall and he's injured again. I think you have to be a little bit worried about that for a guy who was currently, I just finished up. I'd gone through and did a whole redo of my rankings, running back, wide receiver, tight end recently. And I was just updating my quarterback rankings as we were doing this. I actually moved Sellers up to my QB1 because I had Lagway. Lagway's been my QB1 this whole time, but at this point, I think you've got to be worried about it. He's not getting any work with his receivers who are also all injured. I mean, and on top of that, I mean, you're looking, I don't think Florida's going to be a bad team, but I think overall the constant injuries, second year in, first year starting, you've got to be a little bit concerned about him.
Yeah, I think you have to be. And this was a guy, coming out. We liked him. I think everybody liked him. That's not that's not some anomalous thing. Looking at some of the stuff we really like, especially the athleticism stuff, he was checking all those boxes for us. He's a willing runner. He was super, super productive in Texas there, and all. You can just kind of go down the list of things that were great about him. Injuries were never a thing that popped up on our radar here. And that's not something, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's 3 different things. So I guess you can rationalize it and say, well, it's not like he just keeps pulling the hammy, or it's not like the shoulder keeps getting re-injured, or, whatever, insert body part here that could be injured. That would be a big deal for him. But I do think it's concerning. I have dropped him a little bit as well. He wasn't my QB1, but I have him now as my QB5, just because of some of the uncertainty around him. It's just because they're blooding in a bunch of new receivers / guys that he hasn't really played a lot with. Him and Eugene Wilson didn't get a ton of snaps together last year, and Eugene Wilson missed half the season last year. So, just getting more reps with all those guys together with Vernell Brown, with J. Michael Sturdivant, with Dallas Wilson, with whoever else you want to stick in there, I think would have been really good for this team. A team that plays a crazy difficult schedule again this year. I think last year they were, if I remember correctly, the most difficult, and I think this year they're top 3. I think Wisconsin is probably the most difficult, but Florida's up there. I mean, I'm getting a little worried. I was saying on Campus Life this week, I had all these apologies that I was issuing out for Sunbelt Billy, and now Now I'm back to calling him Sunbelt Billy. I was just calling him Billy Napier. Now I take back everything I said about Florida potentially being on an upward path. I'm pretty concerned. The stuff behind him. I mean, if he's not ready or whatever week 1, it's Harrison Bailey. Like, holy crap, that's not good.
Yeah,
they don't have anything behind Bailey either. I mean, I think Florida's a little bit of a mess. I think he's a little bit of a mess. What would you trade him away right now?
I wouldn't, because I feel there's, well, I don't know, because I haven't seen a lot of people necessarily panicking on him, but if someone's going to try and kind of buy him at a lesser price because of all the injuries, I wouldn't. Because, I mean, obviously the tools are still there for him, I think, to be the number 1 quarterback in all of college football. So I really wouldn't. I'm really hoping that maybe this is just their way of kind of, I don't know, tampering expectations or something like that, or dampening expectations, and just like, oh, well, he's injured or he's dealing with this and that, and then he comes out and starts the season healthy and is good to go. I mean, so we've heard other quarterbacks are injured, and then there's reports that it's not that bad and everything. We don't actually know what's going on. Maybe one day we'll get full actual injury reports like the NFL, but I personally would not. I still think he's at worst. I mean, what did I drop him to? I think I dropped him 2.5 actually. So, like, I mean, it's not like I dropped him very far. He's still a top. Yeah, I have him at 4, right ahead of Arch. So, I mean, I still have him top 4 quarterback. I think unless someone comes in and offers you what his value was before all the injuries, I think I'd still hold on to him for now.
I mean, I think you're right. I think people aren't panicking. So I do think you can still get that value for him. I don't necessarily mind, I don't think I'd want to turn him into a younger quarterback, which is obviously difficult to do. He's a second-year player. That basically I probably wouldn't really. I mean, I guess Underwood or Russell, I could be okay.
That's what I was about to say. If someone who really thought Lagway was going to be good this year and came in with like Russell and maybe something small, would you take that? I think I would.
I would. I think I would head that direction. So, yeah, we shall see. Colin, if you want to hear some more different maybe trade proposals that you come up with, Colin and I gave a bunch of them on Campus Life this week. You can check those out on the Campus Canton podcast feed, which if you're not listening to this show on that podcast feed, if you're catching us on YouTube or on I guess we go on Twitch, huh? Or Twitter or whatever. Yeah. I would recommend heading over there. Lots of really good shows over on the network. And quite frankly, just check out campuscanton.com as well while we're here. Next up, we just talked about Keelan Russell. Let's head over to Alabama. Ty Simpson was officially named the starter, I believe, this week. I don't think that was unexpected.
No.
I don't think there was really a battle there. I don't know. I mean, does Ty Simpson 3,000 plus pass yards this year? Yay or nay?
I'm gonna go under. I mean, I'm the original hater on Ty Simpson, so like I just think at this point I'm sticking to my guns. I might be wrong on this. I mean, I wanted to see, and I don't know if you've updated your quarterback rankings. Me and you are not that far or differently ranked on him, at least according to the website. You have him right now at QB 63. I have him at QB 75. I mean, I'll bump him up. Colin has him all the way up there, 36, the original Ty Simpson believer. I mean, again, we were talking about throwback shows. If you go all the way back to, I think it was our very first ever ranking summit, which we didn't do one this year, which also makes me sad.
We did.
But going back to our very first one, that was like we used to do a call each other out segment, and I got called out by Chris Moxley for having Ty Simpson and Cade Klubnik ranked in the 60s. Again, I could be wrong, right? We haven't really seen a lot of them outside of what was that 2 years ago? They benched Milroe for a game.
USF?
No, USF. Yeah,
I believe, yeah.
And again, it was like really raining that game. It was not a good game overall for either team, really. So like, I don't want to take too much away from that. But like, I remember him coming out of high school. I was just not blown away with him at all. Like, yeah, great. He was a very good athlete. Like, I thought was going to be an interesting quarterback in that essence. Like, I never thought he was a very good passer. Now I think with Kalen DeBoer, like, I think you are afforded maybe not have to be the most elite prospect and you could succeed. I do believe Kalen DeBoer is a very good coach. I just don't know. I mean, I was listening to Cover 3 today. I don't know when they dropped it, but I listened to the episode of them predicting kind of like the playoffs and who wins the national championship. And I think 3 of the 4 had Alabama in the national championship game. So they're all believing in Ty Simpson. I just don't.
Didn't I pick Alabama when we picked national championship on this show a couple
You
weeks
might
ago?
have. I don't remember. I as soon as we do those shows, I forget. Just so no.
I think
if
I
someone
did.
calls me out, I don't worry about it. I don't even remember if I had Alabama in the playoff, but I think I did. But yeah, I'm just not the biggest Ty Simpson believer. I know you and Colin talked about it on the show that dropped on Tuesday about like Keelan Russell and everything. I still think at some point he gets in. I think there's a realistic shot that Alabama still possibly loses 2, maybe 3 games. And at that point, DeBoer just makes the move and goes to Russell. I just don't think Ty Simpson is anything special. But I could be wrong.
We're not quite at the current Tennessee offense, Josh Heupel offense, that like a monkey could run the offense with DeBoer, but we're not that far off from it either. I mean, I don't want to like disparage Jake Haener per se, but I don't think that Jake Haener is a special player by any stretch of the imagination, who was very productive, borderline like prolific with DeBoer there at Fresno. And you can argue, levels of competition, all that kind of stuff. But like, I think the fact of the matter is that DeBoer can really get the best out of quarterbacks. At least that's what he's shown so far. Even, like Milroe struggled last year, but I don't think that was DeBoer's fault. Like,
no,
just watching Milroe just miss wide open guys running across the field. And like, I don't think that was a DeBoer issue. I think you can only do so much.
I don't disagree with you, but that's my problem right there, is that like, I don't know that Ty Simpson is that, at least from last I saw him, that much of a better passer than Jalen Milroe. And what
do you remember?
with.
And this is where the bag that we have to dig into here, because like you said, we don't have a lot of like tape on Ty Simpson. But do you remember that spring game?
No.
Nick Saban's last spring game, where Simpson and Milroe were battling it out for this job. And I remember it was almost like I don't want to say like a Rorschach test, but I remember I think we called it live. I think we were all watching it. And after the game, I'm pretty sure like 4 or 5 of us were talking and like texting or in our company Slack or something. And half of us were like, oh, Ty Simpson was like clearly the better player. I would roll Ty Simpson out there tomorrow. And the other half of us were like, Jalen Milroe is the better player. I'd roll Jalen Milroe out there tomorrow. So like at that time, I don't know that there was that much separating them. And I think the differences were obviously what Milroe could do with his legs, whereas Simpson kind of offset it with, being a little bit of a better passer. It is really funny. If you go into our star index stuff over at campuscanton.com, which is our athleticism rating, for those not familiar with it, we have this huge database full of just probably thousands of players at this point that we collect a ton of athleticism data on, how their size, how many sports they played in high school, all this kind of stuff in a really cool visual. Like, you can do all sorts of different stuff with this database, with these profiles, go by team and kind of look, at athleticism profiles and things. But if you go into Ty Simpson's, do you know who one of his comps is?
Is it Jalen Milroe?
It's Haener.
Oh, well,
it's Haener. And he 57 mile per hour throwing velocity. That's great. 86 percentile. I think there's a player in there. I think he's going to do fine. I don't think we see Keelan Russell unless Simpson gets injured, personally.
Okay, hang on. I'm actually gonna write this down now. I've been avoiding my phone because I got like a million text messages here a second ago. But because we have one bet and I don't remember what it is, so I'm gonna put this on here. Okay. What's a over under 2.5 Keelan Russell starts?
Under.
I'll take the over. I'll get you a home field shirt if that.
We're talking like not injury related, correct?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Over 2 starts in the 2025 season without injury.
I'm gonna have a whole new wardrobe after the season with the just super easy. I felt really good about. I felt really good about the other one that. I'm not ignoring you. That's not for you, Austin. The one that we also did. I felt really good about that one. I think I'm going to win that one, but I don't remember what it was. I have it marked down somewhere.
Okay,
so
I'll have to go back through and find it.
Yeah. And I have one with Colin as well, I believe. So
yeah, I know that. Well, someone in the chat like immediately popped in and gave us the Colin one like that.
I love our listeners Colin, and the subscribers over at Campus to Canton. They're just like,
oh, Colin, Colin owes you this. This is like, oh my goodness.
Good people.
I still owe Colin a
robe,
embroidered robe because freaking my boy Sean McVay took Blake Corum in the third.
Make sure it's silk. He's got sensitive skin.
Sensitive skin. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess. Oh no, I'm getting him like the thigh high one. He ain't getting a long one.
Well, never mind. I'm not gonna. There's no risk of anything, hanging out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think we're good on that.
We're good.
Okay. All right. So Ty Simpson at Alabama, and just real quick, do you think Russell's the 2? Like if something happens,
I think so.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if like week 1 the depth chart comes out and it's Mac listed as the 2 just on the safe side. But I think probably by like week 3 or 4 you're gonna hear Russell's been making such massive improvements, and
that's such an easy thing to say for all parties involved. If there's no threat that tomorrow you have to play the 2,
exactly,
like that is the easiest lie in the world to tell somebody.
Well, and I think even on top of that, right? Because I don't know who Alabama plays week 1. I don't think they have
it's Florida State.
Oh, yeah, it's not okay. So
it's not a tough game. They're gonna freaking crush Florida State.
They if Simpson were to get injured, knock on wood, like I think Matt could go out there and do it, and then it would be just like, oh, now it's a camp battle, right? Like Mac's our guy, but then Russell comes on and is this Robert Flores of MLB Network? I'm just curious.
I don't think so. I actually saw him talking to somebody who works at C2C the other day.
Oh, okay.
So, we can talk about that, Robert, real quick. Robert in the chat said, is Sellers the top scoring quarterback in college fantasy 2025? I don't think so. I think like if you just had to put a bet on it, and I think I forget what shows we've talked about it. I think I think like the easy money just has to be Cade Klubnik.
Yeah,
the situation's perfect. The team is loaded. The schedule is cake. Like just everything rolled into one. I think you just have to put money on it being Klubnik. Is Sellers certainly in like the mix? Like it wouldn't dumbfound me if it happened. Yeah, I think so. But I wouldn't be willing to put money on him being the QB1 this year.
Yeah, I think that is the other Roflo. Big fan of both Roflos. You, Robert, and MLB Network's Robert Flores. I would say I think Sellers probably finishes top 5, but I think at this point, coming from probably arguably not only the biggest Ty Simpson hater, but the biggest Cade Klubnik hater as well. Like I think you have to odds-on favorite to be the leading scorer in CFF this year. They have a pretty easy schedule. All that team coming back, 3rd year in that offense. I mean, as long as even if he doesn't improve on what he did last year, that's still what he was. I think he was he not? Or at least the top 3 toward the end of the season when he finally started getting going, like those last 5 or 6 games, he was on fire. I mean, multiple games of 30-plus points. I think he had a 50-point game in there. He's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I don't remember their exact schedule this year. Like I know they always have the Citadel or like 1 or 2 other like just cakewalk schools in there, but they're not afraid to just leave the starters out there for a little bit and just pump that team. Yeah. So that also helps with like some of these teams. I think if they get in those matchups, they kind of go light on some of that stuff and play safe. Clemson does not. And I do think Klubnik might have a slightly higher rush touchdown floor this year because of the running back situation there. Something to think about and monitor. So I don't know. We'll see. We are definitely not the CFF experts here at campscan.com. I think that disclaimer has to be dropped. All right. Boston College, Dylan Lonergan named the starter. And this was one that I think when Colin and I did our ACC preview, we talked about this. I said, like, I thought that would be a foregone conclusion. And maybe it was. Maybe this was a keep Grayson James in the fold type thing. Because I thought Lonergan, his background with Bill O'Brien and all that kind of stuff, he recruited him at Bama initially and all that kind of stuff. I thought that would really work in his favor. Obviously, he has much more pedigree. I think anytime we've seen Grayson James, he hasn't been amazing. So it wasn't like, he was an established guy and that mattered for a lot. What are your realistic expectations for Lonergan and Boston College this year? I don't think they're going to throw for 4,000 yards or anything, but I do think from a passing perspective, this could be a sneakily decent passing offense.
I agree. He was, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk about flag plans. I thought about planting my flag on Dylan Lonergan. I liked him coming out of high school. I thought, again, baseball background, for those of you who don't know, I don't know what we have his arm velo at the moment. I don't know if
I'll pull it up.
But I remember I was a baseball player. I can't remember if he played shortstop or pitcher, but I had a very good arm.
54 miles per hour. So
that's lower than I
right
thought it
smack
was
in
gonna
the
be,
middle
but,
of the good range. Yeah.
Yeah. Not, I was, I mean, if Ty Simpson can throw 57, Lonergan, come on, man. But anyways, I thought it would be a little bit stronger than that, but still overall thought was like a really good quarterback and fits the kind of quarterback that Bill O'Brien likes, right? Like, doesn't really seem to work well with those Jalen Milroe types. We kind of saw that when he had Thomas Castellanos and trying to square peg, round hole, trying to sit here and get him to be a pocket passing quarterback. Lonergan is that. He has some athleticism. I don't remember. I want to say he brought some rushing upside in high school, but it wasn't
a little bit, not a lot.
Like, yeah, it was, you're talking about like maybe 200-yard rusher. Like, you're not talking about it like the Castellanos Milroe level. But I think overall with what he can do as a passing quarterback, if you go back and look again, obviously you have to go back to his time as an offensive coordinator at Alabama. I don't remember who his quarterbacks were at that point in time. I know Mac Jones. I thought Mac Jones was Sark. So I know he had Bryce Young. Who was after Young?
Mac Jones, wasn't he? Or was Mac Jones right before Bryce Young?
I thought Mac Jones
was right before Bryce Young.
Yeah,
right.
Bryce Young. Yeah. So whoever was it, Milroe? Right? It was Milroe right after Bryce Young, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So either way, like passing offense was up over 54%. Every single one of those really good offensive pass EPA per play up in the 65 range. Now, we did have one bad year with the 43. That was his last year at Alabama, which I think that was the year Alabama did really bad. But his wide receivers were also putting up a lot of points. I think going over here, getting a quarterback again in that mold, that pocket passing quarterback, I think realistically, I don't know what Boston College's schedule looks like, but Clemson's the best team in that conference. So if they play them, sure, he might struggle. But I actually think Lonergan's in for a pretty good year. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's like a CFF stud, but I think he could end up having a really good year for Boston College. I really wanted to come on here and be like this year's Kyle McCord, but I don't think they're going to throw the ball that much.
I don't think they will either. I do think 2,700-ish yards passing is not is not out of reach for them, which is not a bad year. And I do think they really have, kind of two decent receivers there in Lewis Bond and Reed Harris that I think can help out quite a bit. And they're both very different kinds of players too, which is really nice. Harris, more of a, huge bodied perimeter jump ball kind of guy, and Bond a little, quicker, faster, maybe more of like a deep threat kind of guy. So I'm interested to see. I think I've been on Bond this offseason. I think he's a decent player. I think, last year he saw close to 100 targets. I think you'll see that again this year. Harris, I'm not as high on personally, but I think he'll be a factor for them too. So I think this is a good move for them. And then like Lonergan has a bunch of years of eligibility left, so they could have him for a while. So
yeah,
big deal there for Boston College. On the other side of things, Brendan Lewis named the starter at Memphis. On the scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being a disaster. And I'd say let's make 1 a disaster and 10 being like this is a match made in heaven. Where is this going to fall on this scale this year?
Yeah. Look, I actually liked Brendan Lewis last year just because of what he was doing at Nevada. I was in a CFF Dynasty League where I played as Nevada. He was very good. Very, very good player. It took me to multiple championships. Never won a national championship for it. Always lost in the playoffs. But still, we went there. Probably a 4. I just don't think he fits this offense like at all. I think he's definitely more like what he can do with his legs is kind of what gives him a, strength against the defense. I don't think he's a very good passer. I would almost guess that probably by like week 4 or 5, maybe 6, I think they moved to Arrington Maiden. I liked Lewis last year. I think if he would have gone to a team that maybe amplified that rushing side of him, or his ability to make plays out of the pocket, would have been better than him going to Memphis. And I just feel like that offense works like within a schedule. They need that pocket passing quarterback who's going to throw the ball where it needs to be whenever it needs to be there.
If you had to guess what Brendan Lewis's completion percentage was last year, what would you guess?
52%.
Not even close.
The much better or much worse? It can't be much worse.
It can't be worse than that.
It can't be worse than that.
67%.
Wow.
67%. Now, I agree. I don't think he's a good passer. I think, he for his career, he's that basically crept him just over 60%. Every other year he's been at basically 60% or lower. But I do think maybe there was a little bit of improvement there last year. Now, granted, if you look at some of the schools that he had higher completion percentage against, like, I mean, Troy, Eastern Washington, San Jose State, and Colorado State were his 4 best completion percentage. And that, like, again, like completion percentage, we're not saying this like is the mark of like a good quarterback or a bad quarterback, but
Right.
realistically, when the eye test and the history up until last year tells you that this is not a competent passer, and then last year he had a little bit of what we think is an anomalous year, then I think you start, against really like Oregon State they played last year, he completed 41% of his passes. Like, possibly also a team issue, but he's just not a good passer. He's a good runner. Yeah. I agree with you. Unless they completely are scrapping what they've done offensively ever since this staff has kind of been there and been in place. The one thing that I will say about this, and we talked about this, I think like weeks ago on Campus Life, they've also had generally pretty good receiver play there. I was going to say competent, but I'd say better than competent. Yeah. It's been pretty good, especially as far as the G5 is concerned at Memphis. And they lose Rock Taylor and Demir Blankhamsey. Have you looked at the wide receiver room that they have coming into this year?
No, I have not.
It's terrible. I mean, the guy that they were hyping up after spring is CJ Smith, formerly Chandler Smith, who I don't know if you remember, we dogged him as a recruit.
No.
He's terrible. He has like 10-second 100 track times, but he's slow as all get out on the football field. Like, has no idea what he's doing on a football field. Did nothing at Georgia. Went to Purdue last year. Did nothing at Purdue. And now that they're saying like he might be their leading receiver. Like, I think this might be also just that like they know what they have a receiver. They know that Arrington Maiden, if you put him back there, might die. And so it's just like we will, because of the wide receivers we have, we want a real scrambler type QB back there. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because I think anything we've seen out of Brendan Lewis against good or better competition has been awful objectively over the course of his career. And we've got 4 years. We had a whole year of him starting at Colorado. He was there for 3 years, but we only got one like full year out of him because they saw that and said, holy crap, we cannot stick this guy back out there again. And then 2 years at Nevada. So like, and the first year at Nevada, he had 300 dropbacks, 2 passing touchdowns.
Jeez.
300 dropbacks, 2 passing touchdowns, Yikes. 6 interceptions. Like, to me, last year is significantly more of an anomaly than everything else we've seen out of him.
Well, didn't they just bring in a new head coach there last year too?
Nevada? Yeah, I think they did.
And I'm pretty sure he's actually fairly good with what he does. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, Jeff Choate in December of 2003. So right before Jeff Choate. I assume that's how you say his last name. I just looked it up. He came in the December of 2023, so he took over for that 2024 season, so last year, and he comes from a tree. No, where did it go? Did I seriously just exit out of it? Oh, there we go. Jay Norvell, Jeff Tizzle. I don't know who Chris Alt is, but I mean, I know who Jay Norvell is. He's known very well in the college football circles for his offensive play style and his offenses. So maybe that's why Brendan Lewis was so successful. Not that Nevada plays a very hard schedule to begin with either, but
yeah. So, I mean, throwing that out there, I don't know that this is great news if you're a Memphis fan for a variety of reasons. Tennessee, sounds like Joey Aguilar is going to start there. We mentioned this earlier. I think a monkey can run Tennessee's offense within some level of competency. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's what you're hoping for, Tennessee fans, because Aguilar has been statistically productive, but I don't think anybody really – I mean, Aguilar, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years ago was the guy that should have thrown like 25 interceptions and threw like 12, right?
Yeah.
That was him. Like, yes. Literally, if you go back, like he had the most dropped interceptions in the country by a ton. He's not a P4 level quarterback. And again, like I just said, anybody can run this offense, but I would be pretty concerned if you're Tennessee going into this year. Their schedule, I think I was on some show recently. We looked, and their schedule actually isn't that bad this year. So maybe they can get away with some things, but like their whole receiver core has been injured. They lose a couple pieces on that defense that were pretty important for them last year. And again, like, this is kind of supposed to be a plug and play offense, so whatever, but you can push that premise to a certain limit and kind of figure out how plug and play it actually is. And I think Tennessee is going to be pushing that boundary this year. It looks
like. Yeah. I mean, just go back to how different that offense was when Hendon Hooker went to the NFL and then Joe Milton took over, and how poor that went.
That's future All-Pro Joe Milton to you, by the way. I love that how bad he was the other night. It just makes me laugh so hard.
Didn't watch, so I have no idea.
I didn't either. You couldn't pay me to watch NFL preseason, but I saw like a bunch of his snaps, and it was just awful.
All I know is apparently Shedeur Sanders looked amazing, according to Browns fans. That's all I can tell you. Didn't actually watch any of that. I saw him throw a touchdown. Let's see here. Syracuse, Georgia. Oof.
They have Georgia early, but
they do.
Yeah.
They run. I don't know. It's a gauntlet, but like I could see them probably being favored in a couple of these games, but not easy games. 4 straight weeks of Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, Oklahoma.
Arkansas and Kentucky kind of might be poopy this year, but
yeah, but I think with him, that quarterback, like I think we see, with him the quarterback, I don't know. I think we see Merklinger at some point. I don't think we go the whole season with Joey Aguilar because I don't think Heupel is on the hot seat.
No,
they've been close, but like I think you'll start to hear Tennessee fans a little bit. Nah, actually, I take that back. I was going to say I wonder if they'd get upset, but I think they're kind of standing behind him over everything that happened with Nico. I think they are like, Heupel's our guy, Nico's whatever.
Which makes sense. I mean, you root for a team, not for players, right? That's why I don't ever get the argument people are like, how can you not want your team to pay this guy? It's like, because I root for the team, not the player, you jerk off. Like, duh. So
I root for Sam Levitt. That might be it.
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord, my guy! Starting quarterback at I don't remember who drafted him. Philadelphia.
Philly took him, right?
Yeah. No, I like Jalen Hurts. Never mind. I'm gonna say in case someone gets.
And they've got what's Tanner McKee there too.
Super Bowl winning quarterback in the future, Kyle McCord. Does that count as a win if he wins a Super Bowl for me? By the way, even if he's just the third string quarterback, I think it does.
Not
in Felix's book of wins, it counts as a win in my opinion. He got drafted.
He made it to the NFL. He made it.
He made it. He won a Super Bowl. Anyways.
Yeah. So I don't think that Aguilar. I mean, the thing is though, like, is Merklinger an upgrade? I mean, we don't know. Like, he is mystery box ish, but I tend to think that if Aguilar, who had no spring, came in and took the job, like, okay, he's experienced, but he's not experienced in this offense, and quite frankly, his experience isn't like that worth that much to me. I wouldn't. It's not like they're blocking a budding elite talent. Likely, if that's the decision that they've made. So I don't know that if they make that switch, other than just saying like we're looking forward to basically trying to figure out who our future quarterback might be, I don't know that actually improves an offense.
I mean, if Aguilar struggles that much and they go to Merklinger, I don't know that Merklinger is going to be any better, which then just reaffirms that my guy George McIntyre is going to take over next year. Although I think
he's on Brandon.
He's not ready.
I wouldn't roll him out there week 1. But of 2026. But
in case his offensive coordinator is still paying attention to everything I say, he's not ready. All right, he does not throw the ball very far or hard.
No, we're not Faison Brandon fans, at least not compared to the composite. Check out the official or our recruiting rankings over at campuscanton.com to learn more about that. The only other battle that we had is just that it does sound like Julian Sayin is probably going to be the starter for Ohio State. I think. Yeah. We're not going to talk Notre Dame tonight as well, by the way, or at least maybe, in a different segment we will. But we're not talking we're not talking that battle because it technically isn't really. We really haven't gotten that much news about it. But it does sound like Lincoln Kienholz is kind of falling behind, is the report in this battle. This is another one to me, Matt, and I feel this way about Notre Dame too. But obviously, we'll talk about this in a little bit.
Yeah,
if the presumptive starter is still in a battle. And sometimes you see these battles where it's not really a battle, but they need to keep people there. I don't think this is one of those situations. Now, I don't know. So like this to me is concerning that I don't think it's because Kienholz has been tearing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I'm an Ohio State fan is fairly concerning to me. I don't know that like there's a short leash here though. I think if they go with Sayin, they go with Sayin. I don't think unless he's objectively awful. I don't think we see them pull the plug on that.
I don't disagree. I think Ryan Day bought himself a lot with winning that national championship last year.
How bad would they have to be this year to even consider? Like they wouldn't do it this year, but like.
Well, I would say this: they could go winless as long as they beat Michigan. Ryan Day was not going to get fired.
We're aware that it's not a battle. By the way, that's what we're saying.
Yeah. I don't think it's a short lease. I think Sayan's probably going to play the whole year. I am kind of torn on because we've seen Ryan Day do this. Ryan Day's just got some magic, or he just got a really good private investigator. He gets dirt on these kids to keep them at Ohio State and not transfer out. We've seen this happen for at least the last 4 years. As long as we've had this show going and campus to Canton, we've seen these quarterbacks come in here and not transfer. I mean, Devin Brown literally stayed until
they had to spit in his face over and over and over and over again to the point where he was wondering if it was raining before he left.
We're bringing in other quarterbacks, and he's like, "We're burning the boats. We're staying." It's ridiculous what Ryan Day is able to do with these quarterbacks. They don't have anything behind saying if Kindholz were to transfer out, because you're not throwing Taven St. You'd have to go to Taven St. Clair, and from everything I've been told, St. Clair's just not ready, which we kind of talked a lot about.
Small school, high school stuff. Like, I mean.
My fear is, we liked Kindholz. We had him as a top. I know we definitely had him top 10. I don't remember where. I think he was like 6 or 7.
We liked him a lot more when he was committed to Washington State.
Yes.
We liked him a lot less.
Washington. It was Caleb DeBoer at the time. Yeah.
We liked him a lot less when he said he was going to Ohio
State. Yes. But we liked him just because of like his tools. He's got the raw tools that if they could figure that out would be a very interesting quarterback, right? Definitely a little bit more, not even a little bit more. I think this is not unfair to say a much, much better athlete than Julian Sayin. Athlete and Julian Sayin only go in the same sentence in the fact that he's playing college football. He is not a guy that's going to run or do much for you, pure pocket passer, which in fairness is what Ryan Day wants, right? Like that's what he looks for. Now, granted, I think, if you go back through your history here, Mr. Day, you'll realize that guys like Justin Fields, and as much as I did not like Will Howard were the ones that have done the best for you in those offenses because of that. I think Sam probably has the job the whole year, but I said it before when we talked about this, I didn't pick Ohio State to win the Big Ten. I did not say they're the best team in the Big Ten because I just don't think Julian Sayin is anything special. And the fact that Kindholz is hanging in there this long, you can say it's not a battle or not. Ryan Day in the past has not been afraid to announce his starting quarterback weeks. Like we are, 2 weeks away? A week away?
2 weeks.
Is it a week away?
2 weeks away from football.
2 weeks away from football kicking off here. From week, I thought week 0 kicks off next weekend. Am I completely wrong on that?
Ohio State's not playing, so.
Right. Well, yeah, but in the past, we've already seen Ryan Day announce his starting quarterback at this point. And at least I'm pretty sure. I don't think he usually waits that. I think the one time was, and I don't even think he was technically the head coach, and it was still Urban Meyer. He was the offensive coordinator. It was the Dwayne Haskins, or no, I'm thinking of not even Dwayne Haskins. I'm sorry, Cardale Jones and JT Barrett. That was before Ryan Day got there, if I'm remembering correctly. And they went into the season with the quote unquote 2 quarterback system or whatever they tried to do. I think it's a bad look for Ohio State. Again, I've said, I don't know that Jeremiah Smith's going to be able to carry this offense. They lost a lot of the offensive line. I think it's going to be Sayin's job, and outside of just like a massive crumble, I think he keeps it all year. But I think if he has a bad year, I would not be surprised if going into next season, it's another competition. It's not just Sayin's job. We're, for the most part, outside of, again, Kyle McCord, we have seen Day kind of lean on those veterans and be like, hey, this is the guy. We're going to stay with him. Kyle McCord, I think, was really the first one that he kind of was like, yeah, we're going to go into the portal and try something different. So.
It's interesting looking at Kindholz's athletic comps.
Mm-hmm.
They're all guys that were decent, but definitely physically limited. And Sayin's are even more physically limited, like Greg McElroy, Kellen Moore, John Brantley, Brandon Harris, Nick Mullins, and Talia, not Tua, Talia Tagovailoa are Sayin's most closest physical comps. It's not a good group. So I'm not a Sayin believer.
No, yeah. I mean, we weren't as a company, right? I mean, what the services had him, I believe, is like a top 3 quarterback in his class. We did not have him nearly that high. We didn't have him as a 5-star. We were much lower on Julian Sand than the services. And again, I think it just comes like, don't get me wrong, very accurate passer, can run an offense, which again is what Day wants. Like, I think he'll be comparable at times, but in those games, like against Penn State, I don't think they play Oregon this year, but I mean, look, even that team up north, they've had a good defense over the past couple of years. I think they could give him fits too. Like, I think Sand's going to be in for a okay season. I don't think he's going to be what Ohio State has had, including Kyle McCord a couple of years ago, who did not have a horrible season for the Buckeyes.
That's why I wouldn't be buying in pure college fantasy this year any Ohio State receiving threat, including tight ends, not named Jeremiah Smith. So, yeah. All right. Flag plants is back. We do flag plants every year, guys. I know Felix went through last year and pulled out like our entire history of flag plants, and obviously some really good, some by week 3 were toast. So we as we always have a fun time doing this exercise, though, going through. We pick a player at each position. Oh, I didn't pick a freshman, so I'll have to pick a freshman to name.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll do that as we go. Matt, I mean, we can do quarterbacks first. Matt, who is your official 2025 flag plant?
So I don't know if we're going to post this on X like we did last year with no context, and people were like, you guys don't know ball. We tend to try to go for guys who are not deeper, as highly rated. It's really easy to come on this show and be like, Arch Manning, I'm planting my flag to have a good year. Like, we try to go a little bit deeper. I feel like we know a little bit more about college ball than most people. So I tend to go a little bit deeper in the rankings. I just want to say last year, great year. Sam Levitt, Mekhi Lemon, Quali Conley, all 3 amazing seasons. Now, Quali Conley didn't get drafted.
Wait, do you have them in front of you?
No, I just remembered that those were the 3.
Oh, I was going to say, who were mine? Wait.
You had Jadon Blue.
Were they good?
You had Jadon Blue. You hit on your wide receiver. I can't remember who your quarterback was, though. You picked a quarterback that was Jadon Blue. You picked Blue, and then Baxter got hurt like literally the week after we did that show. No, I can go find it, though, because we all had fairly good years, but me and Felix really kind of killed it last year on ours. I think my tight end was not. I think I had Jack Velling as my tight end, who did not have a good year. But all right, you mentioned it. I mentioned my little teaser earlier. I'm gonna go with CJ Carr, and it's not necessarily why I did it. Last year, I did it for the mixture, right? I thought Sam Levitt, extremely talented quarterback. The pairing with him and Kenny Dillingham was going to create magic, and it did. And I love you, Sam Levitt. This one, I'm going purely on Mike Denbrock. I think with what he's done over the past years as an offensive coordinator, if you want to go all the way back to his time at Cincinnati and what he was able to do with the quarterback like Desmond Ridder, then he goes over to LSU with Brian Kelly. And granted, Jaden Daniels, was a first-round pick, has been amazing in the NFL. Not trying to compare CJ Carr to Jaden Daniels. Again, Desmond Ridder was a top CFF asset, and it wasn't necessarily because of his running, which might surprise a lot of people. It was actually due to a lot of the stuff that he did passing the ball. Now, we don't know for sure that CJ Carr is going to win the job, but I think he will. If you go back through Denbrock's time here as an offensive coordinator at LSU, they were passing the ball about 50% of the time. Their offensive pass EPA was up at 56%. The offensive success rate, 54%. Explosiveness, 1.6%. Their wide receivers, now granted at LSU, he had, Malik Neighbors and who?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr., 24 points and 19 points. So, granted, they don't have those wide receivers at Notre Dame, which is definitely going to hurt him a little bit. But even if you go back to his time at Cincinnati, almost the same thing, upwards of 55% in the passing range. Now, his wide receivers didn't do as well, 15 points and 13 points, but still startable wide receivers and 1.5% pass explosiveness. Denbrock, I think, is going to be able to get the best out of CJ Carr here. I think that he is a good enough quarterback, at least when it comes to the passing part of his game, that he will be able to thrive here. If Jaden Greathouse can continue to take a step forward, and I'm going based on this solely on one game that we saw against Ohio State last year in the national championship where he really stepped up. But they just added, who did they bring over in the portal? His name is escaping my head now. Yeah. Didn't they just bring someone?
Will Pauling?
Yes, Will Pauling, who I think will be a good, although he'll probably be competing a little bit with Jaden Greathouse in the slot, but not Will Pauling. Malachi Fields, who I think will have a good year. I thought about possibly pairing the two together and making them my flag plant quarterback and wide receiver. I think that this offense is in for a resurgence, which is crazy to say for a team that just went into the national championship. But Riley Leonard was not a passer at all, and yet still last year they put up decent stats overall. What was it? They passed the ball 43% of the time. Now, his wide receivers were horrible, 5 points and 4 points. But God, can you imagine? Average of 5 points a game for your starting wide receiver. Again, Riley Leonard barely threw the ball, but pass explosiveness of 1.4. That's still above average of what college offenses do. And again, that's them just passing the ball deep. I think the CJ Carr is going to be able to do that. Greathouse and Malachi Fields, I think, will lead this offense. Notre Dame does not have a hard schedule this year as well. Planting my flag on CJ Carr being a top, you know what? I'm going to go a little bold. A top 30 CFF quarterback this year.
Yeah, I think the situation there with the battle, which I actually think is a bit of a battle,
it's possible.
At least to the sense that like they've been waiting for Carr to like do it.
Well,
and
wait.
He hasn't done it yet.
Question.
Yeah.
Can I say CJ Carr / Kenny Minchie is my flag plant? Whoever is the starting quarterback of Notre Dame.
You cannot.
Okay.
Not denied.
Hang on, real quick. Just hang on. Everybody quiet for a second. Kenny Minchie is my quarterback flag plant for 2025. That way I can just clip both of those.
Clip
now. It. That's what all these college people do nowadays, right? It's like name 4 teams are going to win the national championship. So what happens? So go ahead. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, I've never been a CJ Carr guy as a recruit. I thought he was a very poor recruit. I was honestly a little shocked that they were so high on him internally there. And the fact that this spring and offseason has gone how it's gone so far is not that encouraging to me. I think if we're talking about realistically what Denbrock, I think, kind of wants at the quarterback position, I think he wants some mobility. And there might not be a more immobile Power 4 starter next year than CJ Carr. I'm pretty sure he had a negative rushing yard share in high school. Just was not great against pressure in high school. And the thing about guys like Carr who aren't terribly physically gifted is that you have to wonder because of who he is and his family, being the grandson of Lloyd Carr and all that, he's had probably the best coaching you could possibly get from the time that he could pick up a football and throw it. You have to wonder how maxed out he is at this point. I don't know how much better CJ Carr gets over the next couple of years, other than me just, kind of mentally just getting more used to the speed of a college game. So for me, I am not a believer in CJ Carr at all. I would actually be, the volume would have to be pretty insane for him to finish that high in college fantasy, especially with the running back room that they have there. I think their passing game might be in some trouble this year.
That's fair. So. That's, wanted to go deep. We'll see. No, I'm not making a bet on this one. Just that, wanted to go a little bit deep. It's okay to be wrong. I picked Kyle McCord 1 year. So
I found 2 years ago's sheet. I couldn't find last year.
I'll find it real quick. Who's 2 years ago? Who was 2 years ago?
I had Caleb Johnson, Taylor Green, and Ricky White as my guys. That's all that I saw. I wasn't too upset about that. My quarterback's Bryce Baker, while you're looking for that. I think he starts games for UNC this year. I think as a true freshman, I think he might start the back half worth of games this year. The quarterback's in front of him, Gio Lopez. We'll see how he does. I haven't heard really much about him at all since he's gotten to UNC, and that was after spring and everything, obviously. But I am a little skeptical on his adjustment up to the Power 4. I don't know that he's quite that quality of player. And the only other guy in there right now is Max Johnson, who I already know isn't that level of player. So, can kind of cross his name off right away. And I know we don't have a huge timeline on the college side to choose from on this stuff for Bill Belichick. But did he not kind of make his name as a head coach by doing this exact same thing and taking a rookie quarterback that, and kind of supplanting a established guy. They don't even have that here at UNC. Like you don't even have to. You can skip that step. I think that Baker has been impressive. You hear his name come up in practice reports all the time. They loved him in spring. I think he honestly is probably the best quarterback on that roster. So he's a flag plant for me. I think he plays. I don't think he's going to dominate. I don't think we're going to talk about him like we talked about Trevor Lawrence after his true freshman year or whatever. Obviously, different level of recruits anyway. But I do think that after this year, we're probably talking about him as maybe the third best quarterback in the class because we won't have seen some of these guys yet. We won't have seen Longstreet yet. We probably, I still think we won't really see Deuce Knight this year. We won't see Tavian St. Clair. Like, I think we legitimately might be like, it's Bryce Underwood, it's Keelan Russell, and then Bryce Baker because we've seen him as the QB3.
I don't disagree with that. I might kick back a little bit on that, but I'll wait for a little bit. Speaking of Tom Brady, really good documentary on Amazon Prime if you want to watch a really interesting documentary
about his soccer stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. I just finished it. It's only like 5 episodes. Yeah, it's only 5 episodes. It's really good.
He hates Wayne Rooney. Is that like a thing that I heard?
Oh yeah, he calls him lazy. They fire him like so quickly. It's like right in the first episode, it's like our head coach is lazy. I'm just like, wow, not Wayne, not my guy. So I found flag plants from last year. I was wrong. Yeah. Do you want me to go over these?
Say mine anyway.
Okay. You picked Ashton Daniels as your quarterback. Jadon Blue as your running back, Micah Hudson as your wide receiver, and then Bryson Nesbitt as your tight end.
I'll claim Nesbitt as a win. He was pretty good before he went down with the injury.
Chris had Garrett Nussmeier, James Peoples, foreshadowing, Isaiah Bond, and Kyle Morlock. And
we have been like year ahead on a couple of these ones that we've done over the years too, because the year before I did Taylor Green, I did Nussmeier as well. Like, so we've been like a year or two ahead of a couple of these guys.
I've tweeted about that a while ago. You talked about Garrett Nussmeier on our very first ranking summit, or it might have been the second.
I think it was the second one.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Nuss all the way back then. Then I already mentioned mine, obviously, and then Felix had Jaden Mayava, Caden Fegan, Jace Brown, and Justin Jolie. So these were really, Justin Jolie, I think, had a really good year at tight end. So my running back. Again, this is a little bit of throw. I always go back and like pick one of my guys in these things. Last year it was Sam Levitt. I joked, obviously. I'm pretty sure I flag planted Kyle McCord. I should have flag planted him last year because I did call that he was going to lead the college football passing. What do you say? But I'm going with running back Cam Cook, who transferred to Jackson State. Now, I did like him as a recruit, a little bit undersized, just did not work out at TCU. Which has got to be a little bit concerning. Because, like, sure, TCU is a power 5 school or whatever it is, power 4, but like they're not like the top notch, and they did not have a whole lot in that room. So I really thought he was going to be able to do something special here. But they do bring over Clint Trickett as the offensive coordinator, who led a very, very good Marshall team in 205.9 rushing yards per game. Cam Cook can catch the ball as well. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be Rasheen Ali, but that is the running back he had at his time at Marshall, where he put up incredible stats. I mean, you're talking about as a running back, what were his points per game? I was trying to pull it up here real quick. You're talking about 24 points per game, 19 points, 18 points, and then 11 points was, I don't remember who stepped in that last year for Rasheen Ali. So 11 points per game is not horrible. They run the ball a ton. I think they're going to do that here at Jackson State. I think Cam Cook is in my opinion, the best running back in that room. I'm not remembering who the backup is there or the other running backs. Like, I know there's some rumors that maybe it could be what's the word I'm looking for? It could be a committee, but I think that from what we've seen from Clint Trickett, he typically tends to lean on one running back. I think it's going to be Cam Cook. I think he dominates this room, and I think that he ends up having a really good CFF year. I'm going to go with top 20. I think Cam Cook bounces back to what I hoped he was going to be when I wrote him up for our freshman guy. One of my best write-ups, by the way. I loved writing Cam Cook up, and then, it's not quite worked out.
Spent all that time.
I really did.
All that for a drop of blood is, we got the Thanos line in there. You and your undersized running backs. I chose Dylan Jones for mine, the Wisconsin running back. And look, I didn't have I slightly preferred Darian Dupree coming out of high school of the two freshman running backs they brought in last year, but it wasn't like I loved either of them, and I thought it was pretty unclear. I thought they were pretty close from a talent perspective in terms of who would get the job, and so that did knock both of them down my rankings a little bit. And it sounds like that's kind of been the story there anyway. Jones has probably been the more successful runner in practices so far, but he's not a great receiver. So maybe that's where Dupree factors in, but it does sound like Jones has been keeping Dupree kind of at an arm's length. It's an offense, with Luke Fickell at coach, who's kind of a conservative guy. He likes to run the ball. They bring in Jeff Grimes as the offensive coordinator. He does have a history of some successful running backs from both a fantasy and, getting guys to the NFL perspective. So I think that is a good thing for them. I think the fact that they don't really have a real quarterback, they're going to roll out there Billy Edwards. I don't think they want Billy Edwards throwing the ball 400 times this year, if I had to guess. So I think whoever gets that running back job, and I think today I would guess Dylan Jones, I think is going to have a pretty successful year for them. I think he'll be, pretty explosive. I think, we'll see a lot of longer runs out of him. Again, he's not going to do that much as a receiver. And so if we're talking future NFL potential, I do think that there's probably a real cap there. So I'm not necessarily saying that Dylan Jones is a future second round NFL guy or anything like that, but I do think that in terms of having a good year and breaking out and becoming a more national name, I do think that Dylan Jones can do that this year. So, and he was kind of a guy that came later onto my, I don't want to say radar. I was aware of him and knew who he was. But I just, with the uncertainty, Dupree was the leader in spring and then he got hurt. And then Jones kind of took over from there. But with that and all the news that's been coming out, I feel pretty good about putting a flag on Dylan Jones this year.
I like it. So my wide receiver, I tried to go. This is actually probably my highest rated or ranked player in our system. Cam Cook's fairly far down there. CJ Carr was. You mentioned, look at that. Look, it's like O's got to look at the show sheet here. Jeff Grimes, and
and I'm not saying that he's going to stick with Dylan Jones forever, but when he picks a guy for a season, and he rides him. So, and obviously they had a real merry-go-round at Baylor. Yeah. So I'm not saying this means Dylan Jones is the guy forever, but I think for this year, I think it's going to be Jones. So.
And speaking of Baylor, Kendall Briles is the offensive coordinator of the player that I'm picking, who, when he has his wide receiver one, really forces the ball to him, and they usually are successful, even in offenses that don't pass the ball a ton. If you go back to his time in 2 years at Arkansas, they passed the ball 33% of the time, yet his wide receiver one scored 18 points a game, 19 points a game. He goes over to, FSU. Does see a little bit of a dip there in the 1 year before Mike Norvell got over there as the offensive coordinator. In 2019, wide receiver one only scores 13 points. That was actually before Arkansas, I'm sorry. But then comes over to TCU and goes back with the head coach that he has been known for working with back at Houston in Sonny Dykes. And over the past 2 years has been extremely good, or at least last year. 10 points in 2023, but last year, 17 points for that wide receiver one, who wasn't even really a wide receiver, and they pass the ball a ton, almost 60%, 58.6%. Extremely good other passing metrics here in the advanced stats range, and a lot of that goes to the improvement of Josh Hoover. Shout out Mike Valerie, who is really big on you're not wrong. Briles got something out of KJ Jefferson. I'm talking about wide receiver Eric McAllister, who transferred into TCU, looks to be the wide receiver one on this team, and I think is going to dominate. Stop me when you hear someone who's actually good in this wide receiver room. Jordan Dwyer, Joseph Manjack, Braylon James, Austin. Hang on, I'm going to mute Austin.
I think you muted yourself.
Dang it, I did mute myself. I was like, how do I hear you laughing? Braylon James, who actually did kind of went to Notre Dame, transferred in. Doze Ezekunamama, I probably butchered his name. Gekyle Baker. Eric McAllister's going to go in there, and he's going to absolutely dominate this room. Josh Hoover last year, the offense in general, Josh Hoover alone threw over 400 times, 471 times. They had 488 passing attempts for over 4,000 yards and 29 touchdowns. This defense is not getting any better. TCU is a team people are talking about possibly winning the Big 12. I think Eric McAllister goes in and has a massive season. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't been paying as close attention to some of the CFF stuff, so I don't know if this has been talked about. I think Eric McAllister finishes a top 12 wide receiver this year for fantasy. I am that in on this TCU offense with Josh Hoover and Eric McAllister. I think he's in for an amazing, amazing season. I went back and watched some film of him. I actually think that he's a player who could push for, I don't think first-round draft capital, but a guy who may be a sleeper to go day 2. Like, I'm really starting to get all in on Eric McAllister in this TCU offense.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Hoover this year, and so I think I haven't been spending up a lot on McAllister because I think this is an offense that's going to be so prolific. So that's why I have a lot of Dwyer. I've taken a little bit of Manjack, but not a ton because it does sound like of the group he might be the least likely, and he's in the slot anyway. Not necessarily an offense that highlights the slot. But I've been hitting kind of the secondary, tertiary pieces there because I agree. I think they're just gonna. I mean, would it shock you if Josh Hoover has close to 4,000 passing yards this year? Would not shock me at all. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he just finished 100 yards less than that.
Oh, is that how close he was? I knew they were upper 3,000s last year. So.
Yeah, I think I closed out. I think he had 3,900, and then the other 2 quarterbacks who had passes had like 90 to put him over 4,000. Like he was incredible, and he's not a guy it's not a guy who's talked a lot about like by the outside college football. We're like we've talked a lot about him. Again, I'm going to shout out Mike again because Mike's been talking about him for like 2 years. Mike's been talking about it. And actually, if you go back to our spring reports, I brought him up as a guy that Sonny Dykes that first year was like, we really like Josh Hoover. This is the future of our program. They were talking about it in those spring reports back when I used to do those like every other day on our YouTube channel. It's like Dykes has loved him since that first year coming over here to TCU, and he's really kind of blown up.
Yeah, I'm pretty in on this offense, so I won't fight you too much there. We'll go blast from the past on mine. I picked Jonte Cook. I've been a huge Jonte Cook fan since he got to Texas a couple years ago, and I really thought last year would take off. I don't know what was going on with him, and maybe it's still going on. But with like we did a show. I don't remember if it was here or on Campus Life or something, where I was like, we're literally like 3 months away from like Jonte Cook found in a ditch or something. Like it was not go. Yeah. It was spiraling to that level with him this offseason, just arrest after arrest after arrest. And then it sounds like, I mean, for only having 1 year of a track record, like there aren't that many coaches that I point to at this point. I'm like, if I had to trust a head coach to grab a kid and kind of get his head on straight, Fran Brown, it kind of seems like that guy already. Yeah. I know like he was at Georgia before that, but like in terms of being a head coach, like I didn't really expect that out of him and kind of the stuff he's building up there at Syracuse. But it sounds like he's been saying all sorts of stuff. You know, Jonte's doing all the right stuff. I think they said he's been like working with Fran Brown's kid or whatever. Like
him and Collins. Yeah. Which again, Collins is going to be the starting quarterback.
I think it's going to be Angeli. It sounds like they're hyping him up there. I think he is like he's by far the most talented wide receiver on that team. And that's not to diminish Darryl Gill, who finished last season pretty strong, and I think could be a really good wide. Like I think that those two is your 1-2 punch. That's a awesome 1-2 punch if they've all got their head on straight, all being Cook. So I really think, and the one thing that I will say, and I've kind of held this all off season, like because it's only 1 year, and because Fran Brown really seems like an upset the fruit basket kind of guy. Like, I don't know if he's married to that off that they did last year, or if they were just like a victim of circumstance, essentially, where they're like, well, Kyle McCord fell into our laps. We're just going to chuck the ball around 500 times. Like, I don't know if that's what Fran Brown envisions this team being, especially with his background coming over from Georgia before this. Maybe he does want to be a little more balanced. So, do they throw the ball around a little bit less this year? Yeah, I think it's a real possibility, but I do think that there's also a higher likelihood that this offense is a little more consolidated this year from a passing perspective because of how good McCord was. They were a ton of guys caught passes for them last year. So I really do think that Cook and Gill both can have really strong seasons this year. It'll be interesting to see how the stuff plays out for Cook, because with this, last 18 months or whatever, once the NFL time comes, like, how does he explain that? How does he handle that? We've seen guys not handle that explanation well over the past 5, 10, 15, however many years, and so I that stuff TBD, but I think he's in for a big year this year. I know, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times, but I really think so.
No, I love this call. And, he's a guy who's really dropped down rankings. I imagine a bunch of people who rostered him at some point in time, C2C's probably all dropped him at this point because everything, I mean, maybe some hype built around him. We thought he was going to Washington. That doesn't work out. Ends up here at Syracuse. And again, I think he does have all the talent in the world. I'm with you. The only concern I really have is, as you just mentioned, is like, what's this offense going to look like? I mean, the one thing, and this is why I was so high on Kyle McCord last year, is Jeff Nixon, who's their offensive coordinator. Like, he knew Kyle from like high school. Like, he called games for Kyle McCord back in high school, has known him since then. He's a running backs coach who's typically run the ball. Will that offense change much? I don't know. Again, I think it's going to be Ricky Collins, which I actually think is going to help Jonte Cook a little bit because Collins can buy time in the pocket and Jonte Cook can just create havoc out there running around, getting open for Ricky Collins. It sounds like those two, again, have an amazing connection as it is. They're working with Fran Brown's kid. Like, Fran Brown's talked those two guys up a ton, which is why I really think that it's going to end up being Ricky Collins. But I'm all in on that call. I love it. I think it's a great call. Jonte Cook, I would not be surprised if it was an amazing season. Again, he's just, if you're talking from a skill standpoint, so much better than their lead receiver last year, Trevor Pena, who scored multiple games in 20-plus range points in fantasy because of how often he was targeted. If he's the number one target for them this year in that offense, like, again, their number one wide receiver last year averaged 16 points. I'm just looking at a couple of the last games, 15 points, 22, 25, 29 for Trevor Pena. Like, Jonte Cook could easily match those numbers.
The thing about Jonte, like, he hasn't even played crazy snaps the past couple of years. When he plays, he's been good. 8 for 136 as a true freshman, then 8 for 137 and 2 in essentially 3 games last year. Like, he's been good when he's been on the field. So, just head on straight, and I think he can do it.
Yeah. Do we have to talk tight ends?
We don't have to go into detail.
Okay. Picking Jack Andrews. Boom. Gunnar Helm. Let's just hope he runs it back. That's it. Archman's got to throw the ball to somebody. Maybe it'll be DeAndre Moore, but I think I think that Andrews has a really good year for them. That the tight end position actually seemed to do really well for Sark in that offense last year. I don't know how much they change of that. They don't have a overly tough schedule, but obviously starting off against Ohio State up at the shoe is not going to be easy. It's definitely going to be a nice little outlet weapon for them. I think an interesting group of wide receivers, but nobody that really stands out is going to be like the guy like they've had over the past couple seasons. So I think Andrews is a guy who could really step up and have a very, very good season.
Do you know, and I know our data is a little more focused on guys that either are in college now or have been in college recently, just based on, how long we've been a company. But do you know how many of the top 10 tight ends all time in star rating are currently in college?
No. How many?
3. Have any guesses on who the 3 are?
One's got to be Lincoln Cure.
No, but Cure is like percentage points off. So
okay. I have no idea that. I thought for sure Cure had got to be up there as like the top.
Cure is 13th all time, and also like a 0.99. Like it only goes so far if you look into like table mode. But so Stowers is 10th.
Okay.
Jaden Riddell is 8th, which is interesting, and that's not my player, but I think there's a case to be made there. Carter Nelson's 9th.
Interesting.
At Nebraska, he's bulked up a little bit this offseason. I'm kind of in on Carter Nelson. I think it's not an offense that like traditionally favors the tight end. But I think he can do a little something this year. And then Michael Smith, who also is like an 80th percentile athlete at South Carolina, I think can fill in there because they don't really have established guys. I think both of them can slot in there. Projections for Clark. I like Clark a lot. I don't think that for fantasy, the other options at Ohio State outside of Jeremiah Smith are going to be worth a lot outside of best ball on a week-to-week basis. I think it's going to be tough to project exactly what happens there. Trigg, like we just talked fool me once, twice, 3 times. I don't know. Michael Trigg. I don't think I have any more Michael Trigg. I'm not touching him anymore.
I think I still have him rostered in one place. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say, on Claire, maybe because those teams just go all in on trying to stop Jeremiah Smith and just say, hey, beat us with somebody else. And again, saying, despite what all these camp reports say about his rocket arm and how he can throw the ball all over the field,
all the clips that circulate are freaking hilarious too. By the way, like,
know.
look at this hose on him, and it's like
it's like
30-yard, like,
exactly.
It's like, okay, buddy.
Maybe that leans into Claire having a good year. I actually would not be surprised by that because I mean, right now, what are we looking at? It's probably Ennis and probably Mylan Graham competing for that slot spot, which, I don't know that either one of them is going to be a guy that, like, Graham, I think after the catch could be really a lot of fun to watch in the slot. But I mean, maybe Claire takes a big step up because of that. We see, I don't think Ruckert had a really good year, but like at the times when those teams like really kind of clamped down on like Olave and Wilson and them, like Ruckert was a guy that they went to and had some pretty big moments for Ohio State. And I think Claire could do the same thing here. Don't think he has like a massive statistical season, but I think could be a guy who will have big moments for Ohio State because of that.
I have Clark as my tight end 11 in C2C rankings, by the way. That's not CFF, but I like him. I think he's talented. And then a freshman flag plant, Matt. We've already kind of talked a few freshmen here, but
I was going to pull up where I have Claire. So that's where I was going to kick back a little bit on what you said about Bryce Baker, because I'm going to go a quarterback here. I'm gonna stick with this. I've been saying this for a hot minute now. I don't think that Jaden Mayava is good. Maybe he will have improved over the offseason and over spring and fall camp and go into the year. A lot of people I mentioned cover 3 earlier. I think there were 2 different people on there picked USC to make the playoffs. I don't think that USC will. And I think Lincoln Riley, as I've said last year, his seat is getting hotter and hotter. And if Mayava continues to struggle and throw a bunch of interceptions and have turnovers like he did last year, I think at some point Lincoln Riley's going to have to turn to the freshman and be like, look, like this is what we have for the future. Give me another year or two. And I think Houston Longstreet starts, and I think that he ended up playing very, very well. I really like this kid. He was my QB3 in the class, and I think that he's going to show us that at some point in time this year. I love the arm. He's got more rushing upside than people give him credit for. Last year in high school didn't do it much, but he started off the year with an ankle injury. Didn't even start playing the beginning of the year for Centennial High School because they were like, we need him to win a national championship at high school, so just don't start. But absolute rocket for an arm, can do everything. Absolutely love the kid. Think he's going to honestly possibly be might be. We got to stand strong on our flag plants, right? Houston Longstreet is going to be the quarterback that returns Lincoln Riley to the top of that throne of being this QB guru, because I think he's fallen off that a little bit over the past couple of years, and he might actually return USC to the promised land again and make them a top team in college football again. That's how much I believe in this kid, and I think we see it this year.
I have drafted 0 Longstreet this year, unfortunately.
And
it's not for lack of not wanting to, or like it was the fact that he goes in like the 6 to 8 range. I just don't usually have a lot of picks in there. Like I'm usually picking top 3 or like the back. Like I'm trying to push for one of those 2 sides. I'd try not to finish in the middle. So I fortunately didn't land any of him. Deuce, I did not take any Deuce Knight. I did not take
any Deuce.
I got 1 Chroma finally, just to like have a Chroma at like I think an 8th pick a week or so ago. Like I just didn't get a lot of that grouping of players, unfortunately. I got 1 Cure, but it was just because like people like I'd be like, okay, I'm picking 11th. Cure's gonna be here. He goes 7th. I'm like, or like then I'm like, oh, I'm picking whatever. Cure will make me back to me at the 202. No, he doesn't. It's just any draft I wanted him in, I couldn't get him.
The only one I have Longstreet in, and I guess you could say reach from, he's my QB3. I took him over to Corey and Moore. And it's in one that it might have been the Nerds one where I had the 3rd pick and I was like, I'm just taking it. Like I want one share.
And I was like, I wouldn't have done that, but I get
it. I wanted 1 share. And I was like, I got to go get, who I haven't gotten real quick before you give us your freshman? Because it's another freshman. I haven't gotten any Zollers, who I love, but he's same thing. Like every time I'm like, I'll take him in the 2nd round somewhere. And he always, in those drafts, he either goes the beginning of the end of the 1st, or like if I'm picking at the back end of the 2nd, he goes to the beginning of the 2nd round. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like the one guy I really want. And by the way, speaking of Zollers in Missouri, I hear a lot of love from my boy Sam Horn. Might be a fun season for Matt.
I think by the way, I think that's another.
Just because Bo Prabula is so bad.
Really bad.
I know, but still, I want to see Sam Horn play.
There's a handful of those battles this year. It's like, I think neither guy is good. I think this might not be a good thing.
Sam Horn, I think, is just like the best way that I can put it Because like I think I wrote this in his write-up. Like it's going to go one of two ways. There is no middle ground for Sam Horn. It's either going to be he's going to turn these tools into being really good or really bad. I think he's going to be a car wreck every single Saturday for Missouri. It's just going to be fascinating to watch. Sometimes it's going to be brilliant. Sometimes it's going to be really bad. But I mean, Bo Perbula, come on, folks, come on.
That never made sense to me. I am very firmly on record on that one. So I felt like I had to choose a guy for freshman that we as a company were higher on than the services.
Okay.
Like, so right off the rip, that narrowed my list down a little bit, even though maybe there's some guys like I really like Malik Clark, but I think we were almost like right in line with the services on him. Mm-hmm. And I think running back is one where we had the most. We've also had the most success doing this at running back over the past few years.
Very much so.
So my pool to choose from here just to get was Jace Clarizio at Michigan State, who is my choice.
Okay. Great pick.
Omar Mabson at Auburn, who we said like is not functionally like different at all in terms of like talent than what Alvin Henderson is ranked at. And I think we had him like marginally lower than Henderson in our guide as a guy that reclassed up. And Tawan Payton. And then, we were also higher on Bo Walker, and I like Bo Walker, but I don't think that he's going to play enough this year to be like a flag point. So those were kind of the three, and I chose Clarizio. It's not a strong running back room. I think we see him get touches. It sounds like he is bulked up a little bit. He is over, 205 or 210 or whatever at this point. Not that he was small coming into school, and he like when we wrote up his profile, we're like, he has the frame, like he'll gain the weight. He did already. He's explosive. He's easily the most explosive running back on that team. I think they're going to need something to take some pressure off Childs, especially because I think he's a guy that can spiral a little bit if things aren't going well. And I don't know that they really actually bolstered the wide receiver room that much this year. So I do think they're going to need to run the ball a little bit. I think Clarizio, whether he's the starter or not by the end of the year, I think he's probably like that. He's at least forcing a committee. So yeah, I'll put my flag plan on Clarizio. But yeah, those running backs that I mentioned are all guys that we are higher on. And actually, my most rostered running back freshman this year is Jalen McGill. Mm-hmm. But we didn't put him in the guide because he reclassified late, after we released the guide. It was super, or after we had already started doing it, it was super late. So, but that's my group of kind of freshman running backs that I've been trying to dip into across many drafts.
Ask, how does a backup at Penn State just walk on to Missouri and start? We don't know. Even the big Penn State fan himself, Colin Decker, is confused by Bo Perbula.
I mean, he wasn't even a good backup at Penn State.
No,
it was like every time you come in, you see he's just so good. Like he's too good to be sitting behind somebody. Like no, he's not. He's Will Levis, but can't throw. Like just battering ram.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show, guys. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit and his son, Nick, who apparently is now in college football media. We ran out of time. We actually had them both back in the green room to talk about his rocket ascension into CFF media stardom. So
nothing to do with nepotism. We wanted to nip that in the bud here because we are friends of the Herbstreit fan.
We wanted to let him speak, but unfortunately we ran out of time. So we'll get them rescheduled. We'll get that taken care of. Make sure you're checking out everything over at campus2canton.com, all the good stuff that we have over for you over there, especially with the season right around the corner. Until next time, guys, good night and good luck.